Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. Jake got a puppy 3 months ago and named him Otis after a singer, Otis Redding. We'd like to open with one of his favorite songs, Sitting by the Dock of the Bay. If you enjoy singing and you're a little off-key like Jake was, you're welcome to all join in.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I watch them roll away again. Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sitting on the dock of the bay, now wasting time, yeah. I left my home in Georgia, heading for that Frisco Bay. I got nothing to live for, looks like nothing's gonna come my way. Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Looks like nothing's gonna change. Everything, Lord, still remains the same. I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, yeah. So I'll guess I'll remain the same, yeah. Sitting there, resting my bones. This loneliness won't leave me alone.
Again, welcome everyone and good evening. It is an incredible blessing to see so many here to honor Jake and support the Bukovich family. Tonight we gather to share stories, memories, to laugh and cry together, to remember our son, brother, grandson, nephew, cousin, childhood friend, neighbor, teammate, or newfound college buddy. Memorial services are never easy, but especially hard when we come together to mourn the loss of a young life that was taken way too soon. Jake had so much life left to live. They say it's not the number of days in your life, but the number of life in your days that count. We will hear from people who walk beside every step of different times in his life, and it will soon become clear that Jake lived a lot of life in his days. He was that kid, the kid that parents loved because of his smile. He was comfortable in his own skin. He was not afraid to be himself or try new things. The kid that with that silly grin on his face during huddles, during football, even if they were losing, just because he was part of the team. He treated random strangers with as much kindness as his best friend. He was an easy kid. High school years, maybe not so easy. But we all know how hard it is to focus sometimes when we are truly trying to live life to the fullest. So let's take an intimate journey now into some of those stories, some of those memories that we have of Jake, and get a better understanding of who he was and why he will be so dearly missed. Our first speaker is someone who knows Jake more than anyone in this entire crowd knows Jake from day one. It's his beautiful mama, Carol.
Thank you all so much. We are so grateful and overwhelmed by the amount of love and support of this amazing community. The incredible love for our baby. We can't begin to thank all of our friends who have been there for us day and night and have come together to create this amazing celebration to honor Jake. We know he brought the sunshine today and is here with us and feeling all of your love. And we just know how much he loved to party. So thank you so much for being here. I just want to start with some good. And that's that our oldest son, Zach, came back from Germany at the end of July. And we were lucky that we spent 2 weeks together as a family. We camped, we hiked, and we road tripped, and we just spent so much time together. And we are just so thankful for that time and getting to watch our kids reconnect. And we'll forever hold these memories closest to our heart. My little Jakey. I summarized 20 years in just a few minutes. My sweet Jake, you've always been bigger than life. Came in 11 pounds. Just a roly-poly bundle of love. And from the beginning, it was clear that you were just about love. Whether you were giving love or receiving, it was just about love. And let's not forget how you were the best snuggler ever. Remember when the tooth fairy left you $5 and you insisted on buying me flowers? I tried so hard to talk you out of it, but there was no changing your mind. We went to the store and looked at every single flower that was in that store until you picked out that perfect, beautiful bouquet of carnations. I could spend all day just sharing what love and humor you brought to our days. Your later years were a little bit different. So many shenanigans, so many sleepless nights. You just kept us on our toes. I would do anything for one of those sleepless nights again. It was always a new Jake story to share, always of some escapade. I remember, and I think most of you are in this group, his first day of driving legally, and he pulls into our driveway, and he doesn't realize that I'm on the patio, and it was kind of like a clown car, and it was like 1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kid. I think there was 12 of them in my car, and they were just piling out. And recently, how he emptied his entire bank account and contributed to the GameStop stock. And then Otis, we tried to talk him out of it, but, our new puppy. But we can never be really mad at you, Jake. Always the charmer. And my favorite line, "Don't worry, Mama, I got this." And you always did. I miss your endless optimism. Just a story of Jake and, and all this, it was so important for us to know that he was happy. And just one day, like this couple of weeks ago, I called him, and just that mom intuition, just felt like I needed to check in. And, just, are you sad? Are you lonely? Are you happy? Are you okay? I just want to make sure you're not sad. And he said, "Mom, that's not how I roll. It's like, I find something to be happy about every day." I know this is how you navigate life, and you were happy and excited about each tomorrow. And I promise you, Jake, that each morning as I have my coffee and we chat, that I will find that same spirit. I have no idea what this world will look like without you in it, Jake. It's funny, just the small things that mean so much. your phone calls. Hey, Mama. Hey, Mama. Just wanted to see how your day is. Or that shoulder rub that you would give me. Or at noon when you would come in and say, so, Mom, what'd you think of breakfast? You are my heart, Jake. And I need you to know that we will be okay somehow. And I know that when you move into your next journey with the same light and love that you carried through this one, as we move forward and try and find our new normal, it's my hope that we will carry forward Jake's beautiful outlook on life. And when we are struggling the most, we will feel Jake's gentle spirit nudge us and tell us, don't worry, you've got this. I love you, Jake.
Thank you, Carol. I know that was hard. Our next speaker is Susan, who is Carol's sister.
How many times have you thought or said or heard over the past few days, there are no words? Tonight we're here to celebrate the life of Jake Bukovich, my youngest nephew. I know firsthand that there are no words that can describe the feeling that surround the loss of Jake. He was just 21 years young. We are all stunned by his untimely and sudden death and wondering about the cruelty of life. The loss of Jake leaves an unspeakable emptiness in the hearts of all of us who loved him. This overflowing crowd is a testament to that and to the impact that Jake had on all of our lives. Whether he was your friend, your neighbor, or your grandson, your nephew, your cousin, brother, or son, we all feel the pain and find ourselves questioning the senselessness of someone being taken from us so young and so prematurely. There are truly no words that can describe the feeling of loss or match what Jake gave us in life. Jake was light. Jake was love. Jake was kind. And if you were lucky enough to have been loved by him, hold on to what he gave you and never let it go. Jake's loving nature and kindness came from somewhere. And if you knew Jake, you knew his mother, Carol, my sister. If you saw one, you saw the other. I wonder if Jake ever asked his mom, "Mom, please don't love me so much." As Carol loved Jake and all of her children with endless intensity and protectiveness. Jake was a good son, a loving grandson, and a loyal brother. If Jake were here now, I would say, look at this, Jake. Look at how loved you are. Did you know that? Did you know how good you made all of us feel? Did you know how much your bright smile lit up a room? Did you know how much your sparkling eyes warmed our hearts? Did you know how much you made us all laugh? Did you know how beautiful you are, Jake, inside and out? Did you know that we cannot, at this moment in time, imagine our lives without you? Jake's death hit all of us so hard because it betrays our senses. It reminds us there is much we cannot see, cannot sense, cannot know, and therefore cannot understand. It forces us to confront the mysteries of our own fragile humanity. It makes us see the razor's edge on which we all reside. If you can, let Jake's untimely passing and the beauty of his heart and soul teach us all something. Maybe to simply be kinder. Tell people you love them. Do something for somebody. Give to people even if you don't know them. Smile. Shine your light on those who need to be illuminated by your beauty and caring. Love and be loved. Do something in honor of him, something that you both enjoyed together. Think of him often and be better because of him. Do good in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Next will be Carol's sister Cheryl and her other mother, Ginger.
Hi, this is a very overwhelming crowd. I feel so proud to be here. I also want to say that I married into this family, and they have been, I want to call it my blended family, not my step family. And from the day that I have met Carol, Susan, Cheryl, I'm the person that's blessed for having known all of them and their children. And of course, my husband's first wife, Linda, she hadn't been married to my husband, I'm sure we would be best friends. But I really do like her a lot. I did run this by Carol. It's a poem that I had heard a couple of months ago, and it just really hit me. And I thought, this is how I want to feel. And Carol felt that this is the way that Jake would feel too. So I'm going to try to read the first part, and I have my wonderful person here that's going to help me out. It's All Is Well, and it's by a poet, Henry Scott Holland. Death is soothing. Sorry, let me start over again. Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I have only slipped into the next room. Nothing has happened. Everything remains exactly as it was. I am I, and you are you. And the old life that we live so fondly together is untouched, uncharged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by the old familiar name. Speak of me in an easy way, which you always used, but no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we have always laughed at the little jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, and pray for me.
Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken. Let it be spoken without an effort, without the ghost of a shadow upon it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is absolute and unbroken continuity. What is death but a negligible accident? Why should I be out of mind because I am out of sight? I am but waiting for you, for an interval somewhere very near, just round the corner. All is well.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Jake's beautiful sister, Justine.
This is a letter that I wrote to him. Hi, Jakey. It's been 8 days without you. My God, how much I miss you. I miss you, and I can't believe and don't want to believe it's real, but I know it is. I want you to know how much I love you, every part of you, the qualities I admired in you and the qualities that drove me crazy equally, because together that's what made you, you. Jake, we've always had a special relationship. I'm sure you knew it, but you were one of, if not the most important people in my life. And that's a bond I'll always cherish. Do you remember that time I called you crying and upset at 2 a.m.? And you hopped in your car without a second of hesitation and drove from Boulder to Denver so I didn't have to be alone? That's the brother, friend, and person you are. I always knew you were there for me whenever I needed it and whatever it was. I hope you know you had that in me too. It's going to be so hard without you, Jake. You were a source of so much love and light in my life as well as everyone's around you. I hope you are looking down and aren't saddened by all the sorrow, but instead recognize it as so much love that everyone who encountered you had for you. I know at times here on earth, it is hard to see and recognize all that love, but I hope from up there, wherever you are, you can finally see it and it brings you peace. Please don't worry about us down here. We will get through this and we will make sure we come out better because of you. We all have so much to learn from you. We all can be a little kinder and spread warmth to every person we encounter. We could be a little more easygoing and carefree, although not too much because you might have taken that to the extreme. We all should go through life the way you did, with a positive attitude, a constant smile, and so much laughter. I can't tell you how much I'm gonna miss your smile and laugh. It was so contagious and can brighten the darkest of days. How we could all use that right now. We have a hole in us that will never be filled, but we'll look for you everywhere. We're pretty sure we saw you in a caterpillar the other day. He was the same color as your ski jacket. He had a destination, but took his time getting there, making sure to take the scenic route. Kind of how you would stop in Black Hawk when you would drive home to Eagle. Please keep sending us signs from you. One thing I can tell you is I'm going to be a lot less cool without you. Who am I going to text to see what the kids are wearing, saying, and doing? Or ask what a new phrase I heard on TikTok means? I might finally have to accept that I'm chuggy. I heard you, Annabelle. Know that Otis is okay down here, and he will be so loved and taken care of. You'd be surprised to hear that I think I'm becoming one of Otis's favorites. Jake, this seems so impossible right now, but please help guide us through this any way you can. We'll be okay, I promise you. You are so loved and will never be forgotten. There's not a day that'll go by the rest of my life that I won't think of you. Please take care of yourself and Levi up there. And know that I cannot wait for the day that I get to see you smile, hug you, and hear you laugh again. Thanks for watching over us, and I love you so much.
Thank you so much, Justine. Next up, we have, I'm going to say Jake's favorite brother, Zach.
I'm not sure I was his favorite brother. I think Levi might have had that one on me. Yeah, I was reminded of a story, maybe one of my favorite stories of Jake, when we were looking through pictures. And it goes back to the 5th grade biathlon. If anybody doesn't know, here at Brush Creek Elementary, we have every 5th grader does a biathlon. I did one. My sister did one. And my sister and I, if I'm not mistaken, I got third, my sister got third. And so my brother had like some big shoes to fill there. And for the biathlon, we, you're in 5th grade, but you train. I think you train for like maybe 3 months or so. And Jake, he went through all the training, but but the day of the biathlon, he lined up with everybody else, and he had a lot of energy, and he sprinted. He sprinted like, I think the first, I'm not sure, I think he's probably sprinted maybe the first lap, maybe not even. And then he kind of, his energy died, and he kind of dragged ass like the back half of the race. And he ended up finishing like, I think close to last or something like that. And I think that's really funny because in a way that really symbolizes Jake. I think after that it was pretty rare to see him sprint. He was more of a walker. And I wanted to share another story. Like my mom said, I came back from Germany. I've been living there for like 3 years and hadn't seen Jake in a while. And one of my first days back, like I knew he was coming. He was coming up from Boulder, but I didn't know he stopped at Blackhawk on the way back. And like I wake up, I was still on like European, in the European time zone. So I woke up pretty early, like 6 o'clock. And like I came downstairs, and the back door is just like flung wide open. Like Otis is running like in and out. Otis is his dog. Otis is running like in and out. I walk outside, and Jake's just like man spreading in one of the chairs, like still in his clothes from the night before. It just greets me with a big sup. And yeah, it turns out he went to Blackhawk the night before, made like 120, I think lost 200. Yeah, that was Jake. And Jake, he really lived on his own terms, and like showing up to school or to work on time, the entire concept of organization and cleanliness, they were not really a part of him. And yet Jake did what so many of us, either by fear or sometimes just reasonable decision making, are unable to do. He lived his life. He enjoyed his life. He loved other people. He let people know also that he loved them. He gave his time to other people. He gave his time actually so freely that it occasionally became detrimental. I mean, at least if not to himself personally, then to his grades at the end of the semester. But the more I think about Jake, his life and his death, the more I find his life so incredibly beautiful. He knew, whether consciously or not, what was important, what was most important. And when you come to the end of your life, what really matters. Life and all these petty little things that fill our days. I don't know, how do we let them become more important than telling someone we love them? Or how do we let them keep us from, figuratively speaking, drinking rock stars and losing $100 on blackjack? There's so many things I don't know about Jake's life, about Jake's death. I don't know where he is right now. I don't know why. I don't even know who he was with complete certainty. I think about this every day. There are a million ways to imagine an afterlife, so many ways to try and make sense of his life, which is gone. But not one of us knows what really happens after death. And I, for days, have just wanted to know one thing about his life and his death that is true. One thing that is true besides him simply not being here anymore. And for me, there's only one thing. One thing in all of the stories his friends have told me, and all the food that has been brought to our house, and all of you who have come to celebrate his life, all of you who have come together to help my family, his friends. Love. To me, there is only one important and appropriate question to ask. How do we love each other? Really love each other, without fear, without discrimination, without boundaries? That is what I know that Jake sprinted towards, and in that he finished far from last. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Our next speaker is Ingrid Lucas, who was a kindergarten teacher, who was Jake's kindergarten teacher.
In my life and in my career, I've met so many amazing people, many people who have changed me in so many ways. And Jake was one of those people. He always added a little more joy. He was always smiling and happy. And Jake had a level of easiness that always made him so comfortable to be around. Well, when I first met Jake, he was in kindergarten, and obviously I was his teacher. He was so cute, and he had the pudgiest cheeks, and he was always happy. And his personality was always happy, and he always made me smile. He was so smart, and he always knew the right answers to all of my questions. And he always filled the classroom in on all those extra things that he knew a lot about. One of the memories that I have of Jake was that one day we were reading a silly poem and we were rhyming different words. And I had the class listen carefully to the poem so that they could tell me the 2 words that rhymed. And we were talking about a duck. And Jake raised his hand and he said, I know a word. And he yelled out before I could stop him and he said, well, you probably know what rhymes with duck. And Jake said it. And all the kids wanted to know, what did he say? What did he say? And I'm going, Jake, stop. You can't say it. Don't do it. And I kept trying to shush him. And he was so proud of himself. I thought I was going to lose my job. And so I was just worried all day. And I could just picture Jake going home and telling his mom his 2 rhyming words. And his mom calling the school and saying, what on earth is this teacher teaching future leaders of our world? Well, that afternoon, after all the kids left, I mustered up enough nerve to call home, and Carol answered. And I told her what happened, and to my surprise, Carol laughed so hard. And we talked about all the things that happened that day, and about Jake, and how he's an absolute gem. He was a great guy. And it was then that I realized Jake's gift of rhyme and those 2 little words were just the beginning of a new friendship and a memory of Jake that I will live with me forever. And I was so lucky to be able to watch him grow up and see the amazing person he had become. And Carol always kept me posted on his journey in life and him going off into the world and things he was doing. And Jacob was a one-of-a-kind treasure, and he shined in the most wonderful ways, and his smile always lit up a room. Jake, your joyful spirit will live on in our hearts forever. You will truly be missed. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure the reason Carol laughed when she got the news is because he learned that word from her. Next up, we have Jake's lacrosse coaches, Jerry Nichols, Pat Doherty, and Craig Lobby.
First, to Carol and Todd, I just want to say, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you for the introduction. You know who we are. We've got a few stories to talk about Jake, all of which revolve around a green field called lacrosse. First, I'd like to start out by having Pat talk to us about our introduction to Jake when we first met him on the lacrosse field. Pat?
Yeah, so we don't like to say we had the pleasure of coaching Jake, but those of you who knew Jake in high school know that I don't know if pleasure might quite be the right word for us. To say that we had a love-hate relationship would be a good way to put it. Jake loved driving us crazy, and we hated it most of the time. But first time we really noticed Jake on the lacrosse field was when he was a sophomore. Jerry and I and Craig all knew kind of the kids coming up and who was going to be on the team. And I'll never forget, Jake coming out first day of tryouts, disheveled as ever, missing half of his equipment, late. And I looked at Jerry and I was like, who is this kid? Well, that kid was Jake. And Jake didn't change for 3 years. Jake would show up late with Vans shoes on, pajama pants, missing half of his equipment on a regular basis, and think it was completely normal. It got to a point where Jake would just show up to practice late, and instead of even coming over to the coaches, he would just start running laps. It was the funniest thing ever. When Jerry and I were on the field, I looked at him and I was like, what is Jake doing? And he was like, I don't know, I guess he's starting to run a lap. And he just assumed that's what we were gonna say. And it was perfectly okay with him. I knew that Jake could run 1,000,000 laps in his lifetime and he wasn't gonna change.
And he didn't.
And
He absolutely didn't. Thank God. Jake was a lefty. It was a pleasure having a lefty being a defenseman. But he had a unique style of play. To call it aggressive isn't really accurate. So Pat, remember, he would go up against, we would have conversations with Jake before every game. And because of his talent, because he was a lefty, he always got assigned the number one player on the other team. Always. And he loved that. That all of a sudden now it's game time. But talk to us about his style of play from your perspective on the sideline.
Yeah, so as much of kind of a goof Jake was at practice, as soon as the whistle blew or the lights turned on, I never met a more ferocious competitor. Jake relished playing the other team's best player. Not only did he play the other team's best player, but he wanted to punish the other team's best player. He took great pride in actually making that kid scared of him. And quite frankly, I don't know a single player that actually played against Jake that enjoyed it. Not one. And
There was one time when I picked up his stick at practice and I said, Jake, this thing weighs a ton. How do you play with this thing? Why do you play with such a heavy stick? He just looked at me and he said, Coach, it hurts.
That was Jake. He wanted to put a punish on the other kid, but he would do it with a grin and a smile on his face the entire time. Other teams absolutely hated him for it. He would dominate a kid and laugh at him in his face.
Never loses cool. Never loses cool out there. Smiled the whole time.
That was pure Jake.
So Jake played a lot of games with us, obviously, but there's 3 games that stick out in our minds. The first one I like to call his coming out party. Jake was a sophomore. We were playing a team down in Colorado Springs. It was a playoff game, and they were a highly rated team. We were like 12th or something, but we had a really solid team. We were always underrated, and we knew we could do something down there. They had this player on that team who ended up going to play at Air Force, who was basically a man-child out there. He was huge, he was fast, he had a hard shot. And we had a pretty experienced defense out there, and we felt confident we were going to get the job done. Well, 3 or 4 minutes into the game, Pat and I look at each other and we say, we ain't getting the job done. He just scored 3 goals on us and we're still in the first quarter. So we needed to get our game plan adjusted. So we started substituting people. Jake was a sophomore. We put him in. We're like, can't get any worse. Put the sophomore in. Let's see what happens. And we're regrouping with the other defensemen. And Jake is getting on this guy, and he's stopping him. And we're looking at each other going, here's our game plan right now. And this kid's a sophomore. And he held this kid who was he was an all-state player. He held him and really did an unbelievable job with him. But by the end of the game, Pat and I looked at each other and said, we may not have won that game, but aren't you glad Jake's a sophomore? We've got 3 more years of this. The next game was Valor Christian. This is, I think, your favorite memory of Jake.
Yeah, may have been one of my favorite memories as a coach, period. Valor Christian that year, Jake's junior year. We didn't have a great season. I think we were 7-9, 7-8, something like that. We had the 16 seed going against the number 1 seed. Valor Christian was loaded top to bottom with a ton of Division I talent. And we knew kind of going into their stadium that it was going to be a tough road. So we go in, we're up 2-0 right away on this team. Our fans that traveled down were cheering, so hard. We were all so psyched. Needless to say, their opposing coach called a timeout. Long story short, they righted the ship, and then they ended up beating us by 9 or 10 goals. The point of the story, though, is that after the game, their head coach at the time was a guy named John Grant Jr. And those in the audience that are familiar with lacrosse know that John Grant Jr. might be one of the greatest lacrosse players in the history of the game. He made a special point to come up to me after the game and said, "Hey, Pat, who was your defense in that game?" He was like, our team has never seen a meaner, nastier defense than what you guys just put out there on the field. He's like, I called that timeout to tell my attackmen that they better start running faster or they're going to have a really long, painful game. And to me, that might have been one of the greatest compliments our defense has ever gotten. And in particular, he asked about Jake, number 27. So to me, what a fantastic story and a testament to who that defense and Jake in particular were that year.
I know you like that one, but there was a game in Steamboat that I'll never forget. It was a triple overtime conference game, probably for the conference championship. We're playing in Steamboat, and once again, we put Jake on their best attackman, their leading scorer. And we thought, yep, Jake will handle this guy, no problem. He's got this. Well, what happened as soon as the whistle blew, Pat?
So that game, a lot of people in this audience, that was actually at home, that game. We were at home, sorry, Jerry.
Yeah,
but I just want to say, I don't want to confuse people out there. So we were at home. It was a huge game for us. His senior year, right? Senior year. Anyways, he got scored on almost immediately, is where we're going with this. And they were on our side of the field, and Jake was standing there. And I looked at Jake, and I kind of looked at him, and I said, "Hey, are you all right?" And he looked at me and said, standing right next to the kid that had just scored on him, looked at me, yelled at me, and goes, "Of course I'm all right, coach. He won't score again." And the funniest part about it was he was standing right next to the kid who had just scored on him very easily.
But Jake had the biggest smile and just had confidence coming out of his ears. And you knew somehow that was going to happen. And what happened?
So he held that kid to that single goal. Kid didn't score again. We went into overtime. Then we went into overtime again. And that was when Jake gave his infamous one-sentence speech to our team that fired us all up. He came in running into the huddle.
Tired, exhausted.
I think Chris quoted this one in the paper. "Will someone please just score an effing goal?" And
he didn't say effing.
He actually said the word. So we went into third overtime, and Tucker out there, sitting out there, scored that winning goal. It was a pretty awesome win for us.
There is one thing Jake didn't get to do in the lacrosse field that I wish he had. And probably more than anything, especially his senior year, all Jake wanted to do was what?
Score a goal.
It's all he talked about. Every time he got the ball in his stick, it's like, no, Jake, stay back. Give it to the attackman. Give it to anybody. How did he shoot, Pat?
Yeah, to say Jake had an unorthodox stick skills out there would be an understatement. We screamed at him as soon as he got the ball in his stick to please get rid of it. Doesn't matter, Jake, just throw it to somebody else, please. Jake never would. Jake being Jake, he would run down the field. Somehow he would get through the opposing team's other team and get the most ridiculous shot off on the planet. I actually checked. I went back and checked the stats and said, all right, I wanted to make sure that I'm on point here to know, if Jake actually had a shot on goal. Well, I quickly remembered that the only time we counted a stat as a shot on goal was it had to be somewhere in the vicinity of the goal, right? Jerry at the time, Hensel, was pretty liberal with that stat. And yep, sure enough, not one shot on goal in 3 years of Jake being on varsity. So we really wish he would have gotten that goal. So yeah, I as a coach, I always want to take away something from every single kid that I've ever coached. For me, it was, with Jake, I thought you never want to take life too seriously. With Jake, he never took it serious until it was time to be serious. And that time for us as coaches was in the game. But even when we were serious, we would always wear a smile on our face and we would laugh the entire time we were doing it. So if you're going to learn anything from Jake, don't take life too serious. And if you are having to be serious, do it with a smile and laugh while you're doing it.
One thing about coaching, as many years as we have, you realize pretty quickly that everybody brings something to the team. And we've got a ton of lacrosse players here. And every single one of them, guys, thank you so much for coming out and showing your support. Great showing. I so respect what you guys have done. But everybody brings something. Jamie, you bring the brains. Charlie, you bring the silent leadership. Tucker, you just bring the hair and the shot. I get that. Jamie, you bring dedication. Jeremy brings the brains. Jake brought something really, really special that everybody benefited from. Jake is in a small class of athletes that I will never forget and hold in close regard to my heart. I'm talking about, and I'll name them. Some of these guys you may not know, some of them you might. Matt Granzo, the very first lacrosse team Battle Mountain ever had. Chris Libertini, John Rulon, Rio Garten, and Jake, you're in a class with some excellent people there. You all brought to the team and reminded us all many times, especially the coaches who needed to be reminded of this, that this is a game. And if we're not having fun out here all the time, why the hell are we here? And I will always remember that about you, Jake. And thank you for sharing that with me. And God bless you.
Hey, everybody. Thank you all for coming here to pay your respects to a very impactful and important life. More importantly, thank you for being here to support Todd, Carol, Zach, Justine, and the entire Bukovich family. We're all here to remind each of you and each other that we as a community have come together to support, to love, rejoice, and carry on Jake's spirit, not just tonight, but forever. When life is unexpectedly taken away, we are left with heavy hearts to reflect on the time spent, the what ifs, the future plans and adventures. There's an immeasurable amount of life experiences, laughs, and impact that we were all looking forward to. With that being said, his spirit will always be a part of each and every one of our lives. I first met Jake on the lacrosse field his freshman year. It was an honor and privilege to not just help out for their entire high school careers, but to share blood, sweat, and tears with all of these boys, creating a friendship that has become family by choice. I also had the pleasure of giving Jake one of his first ever jobs at the Smiling Moose. He was pretty green when it came to what working in a restaurant was all about. That was expected. It was a surprise to see he also had this shy, introverted front when it came to talking to customers. I remember him stepping up to the register one of his first days with very little training or experience. He struggled to keep up with entering the order and responded to the customer only with, "Wait, what?" I bit my lip to not laugh as I counted 4 or 5 wait whats. After we got the order out, we used it as an opportunity and had a little chat. I told him he was too smart to have the only words out of his mouth be a quintessential stoner response. His immediate response to me was, "Wait, what?" We got on the same page with the idea of trying to talk to everybody with the same comfort as talking to one of your buddies. He was good with it. And not too long after, another customer comes in. He greets them well, and it's off to a good start. To Jake's defense, this little lady quietly mumbles her order, and his very first words to her were, "Wait, what?" He turned around and looked at me, and with his shit grin, we both burst out laughing. With time, he got it and became more confident and comfortable. This, in general, has been something fun to witness and to be a part of with all of you boys. Regardless of it being on the sidelines or in the Smoose, it was so cool to see the growth of an individual and how quickly the light bulbs lit up. Make sure we hold on to these laughs. In Jake's memory, continue to share more with each other. Say yes more often to more of the people in your lives. Make more time for the things you love to do, because the time we have is never guaranteed. God bless you, Jake.
Thank you so much, guys. Do we have our high school kids? Did they arrive? They arrived? Yay. All right, so we have a story. We have a group of kids that were coming from Montana, and in true 21-year-old style, they had some car problems this morning. So they just arrived about halfway through the coach's speech. So come on up, guys.
I know just like me, this isn't how we all thought we would be celebrating Jake. For us, we were going to finish school and spend 2 years traveling the world together. But here we are, on this beautiful day, celebrating you, with all the beautiful people who love you so much. And I know you would want us to celebrate with laughter and good stories. To express myself, I wrote a letter to Jake. Jakey, I miss you so much already. I want to tell you how much I love you and how much you mean to me. It is so hard writing this letter to you. The combinations of things that I want to say to you and about you is insanely overwhelming. I don't know how to describe a person in words, especially someone as special as you. When I think of you, I see your oversized red Buccaneer shirt, your yellow sneakers with like 100 holes in them, and your khakis with the string belt that never did its job. You walked around so confident and so clumsy, living in your own little world. There are countless things I love about you, but I'll limit myself to a few. I love how honest you were. You were always 100% you, so transparent and just in expressing what you were thinking and how you were feeling. You were honest in the way you listened, because you didn't just listen, you cared. You empathized with everyone and made everyone feel so special and loved. I love how gentle and kind you were with people, animals, even bugs. You were full of love and very good at sharing it. I love how you love to learn. You were so smart and you made learning so exciting. I love our endless, in-depth conversations about the Bucks and the Broncos, space, school, life, sports, and the future. I love all the strange phases you went through. Your Star Wars phase, the Harry Potter phase, your skate life phase, the chess phase, and my personal favorite, the Ali G in the house phase. You were so influential that I went to the bars in downtown Clemson on Halloween last year dressed as Ali G while all my other friends were sexy cats. One of my favorite things about you were your hugs. They were the cure to any bad day. I love how much we needed each other. In moments that hurt the most, I realized that you have given so much more than you have taken. There are so many things that I am grateful for. I am so grateful for you and all of our amazing memories, skiing, our ECCA enrichments, school dances, sports, camping, concerts, etc., etc. We spent more time together than we did apart. I am grateful for the family that we have. I am grateful for all the songs, movies, and jokes that you shared. You were one unforgettable person who made a positive imprint on anyone lucky enough to cross paths with you. I love you, JP. Save me a seat right next to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia, if I haven't met you before. I've known Jake for almost a decade now, and I've been thinking the last week about all the memories we've spent together. There's been a lot, from middle school and taking the bus to Eagle every day, cutting Jake's hair in the park and botching his haircut and Carol having to go get him to go fix it, to high school where some of my best memories took place with a great group of friends and exploring the valley, doing all different types of things. To Denver, where I would visit Jake in Boulder on the weekends when I could, and he'd come to Denver for the occasional wild night at church nightclub. I knew I wanted to speak today, and I've been jotting down a million things to say. I wasn't sure what I'd speak about until I had a dream a couple nights ago. I had a dream I was on vacation with a bunch of my closest friends. We were on some beach, and sorry. We were on some beach with a bunch of my closest friends, and it was somewhere in the near future. Jake happened to be there with us, and I was really confused. I knew Jake wasn't with us any longer, and I couldn't understand how he was there with us. It's like he came back for one last day. He came back to find closure in what had happened. I was able to hug Jake and tell him how much I missed him. I thanked him for being such a good friend to me, for making me laugh, and for all the memories we had together. I was able to apologize for not keeping in touch more the past year and told him how much I loved him. He told me everything would be okay and we'd meet again. Jake would want us to find closure in what has happened. I know it will take time and this isn't easy nor fair. But with the support of one another, we will find a way to cope. I want to share memories we've all had together with him and laugh about it and all the crazy times we've had. I know Jake would be laughing too. Probably cackling with his funny little laugh he had. Life is so precious, and it can easily be taken away. Jake had taught me to be myself, find the best in the worst situations, and have fun, and not to take life too seriously. Yeah, I'll miss you, Jake, and I'll love you forever. And I can't thank you guys enough for bringing Jake into my life, and he was really the most amazing friend I've ever had. So, thank you guys.
Welcome, friends and family members. Thank you all for being here today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Colin Gitchell, Jake's brother from another mother. I never could have imagined my life without Jake by my side, and it has been extremely difficult to find the words to describe the loss felt by so many. I will begin with the story of how Jake came into my life. I will begin with the story of how Jake came into my life, loud and way too energetic, and with a big smile on his face. When I first started school at Brush Creek Elementary in the 2nd grade, I quickly found who my friends were, and I didn't reach out far beyond that. That was not the case for Jake. Jake sat at a different lunch table every day. He talked to everyone and anyone, and could make anyone laugh, even on their worst days. I always admired the way people were drawn to him no matter who they were, and how he made everyone feel like they belonged. Jake was a force that brought so many people together from near and far, because he wanted everyone he loved to love each other. He had so much love to give, it was overflowing into the hearts of everyone around him, all the time. Jake truly believed that everything has beauty, but not everyone can see it, as he quoted Confucius for his 8th grade yearbook. He was always smarter than most and well beyond his years. Jake knew no boundaries. He didn't care for cliques, for judging a book by its cover, and especially not for negativity. Jake was a poster child for always having a good time with everyone. He was our true hype man. Jake didn't change much since our elementary school days together. When someone is so true to themselves and so pure in their heart, there is little that can change that, especially since there are so many people who love Jake for being exactly himself. Always goofing around, always being a great friend, and of course, always being unprepared, only bringing a good attitude and probably some beer. One thing I appreciated about Jake while we were growing up was our shared love for cinematic masterpieces, specifically Star Wars. We watched, debated, collected, and reenacted everything Star Wars. On August 7th, what feels like a lifetime ago, but in reality was the beginning of this month, I was passing through Denver to visit my brother Hayden on a road trip to the East Coast. Hayden and his friends were planning on going to the Rockies game that night, and I was planning on being on the road somewhere in Kansas or Missouri. As we were sitting outside of the stadium having lunch, Hayden convinced me to stay for the Rockies game and leave the next day, but only on the condition that Jake would drive down from Boulder to join us. Jake was hesitant at first because he was taking care of his new puppy Otis and was moving into his new apartment. But I would not take no for an answer. Before long, Jake and Otis were in Denver and we were off to the ballpark. Little did we know that this was a Star Wars-themed Rockies game, with a Star Wars sign illuminated on the big screen and Star Wars characters replacing the images of the ball players. We were stoked, to say the least. After the game, we headed back to Hayden's and hung out for a while until Jake went back to Boulder for work the next day, and I headed to bed in anticipation of a long day of driving ahead. Jake, I miss you so much. I wish I I wish I would have told you how much you changed my life for the better. You pushed me to be more outgoing. You inspired me to be more studious and taught me how to take calculated risks. As we both know, high school is not my brightest 4 years. Okay, 5 years. Through it all, I never doubted your support for me and your trust in me. You stuck with me and kept me going, even when I did not believe in myself. No matter what school I was at or where in the country I was, our friendship never wavered. To have you in my life will always be my biggest blessing, and I will carry with me our friendship and all the lessons you have taught me forever. I love you so much, brother.
How's it going? Well, my name's Charlie Morrow, and not the greatest public speaker, but we're going to see how this goes. I'm just going to kind of wing it here. Jake wasn't just a best friend to me, he was a brother. He was a selfless man who had your back. Oh, sorry. There we go. Like I said, I'm still learning. Who had your back between thick and thin, and he would be smiling the whole time. If you ever needed a good laugh, Jake was your guy. Either just being a goof, or you never know. He might pull something special out of his ass. You never know with that kid. Jake was always full of surprises. He had something new to offer you every day. That's why I loved him so much. Jake was always on a new adventure. He was willing to step out of his comfort zone for himself and for others. Growing up with Jake was an honor, and he has shaped all of our lives in some sort of way. I remember one time we had a good story at the Vale bus stop. We were all coming home from a concert, and Jake saw that I had a long day of work and I was pretty tired. So he thought it would be a great opportunity to mess with me and get some good laughs out of it. So he kept grabbing my hat and he would throw it down the staircase, and he just kept doing it. So I told him, next time he does it, I'm going to punch you, Jake. Like, it's just what's going to happen. And what do you think Jake did? Knowing Jake, of course, throws my hat down again. So next thing I know, I'm coming up the stairs, and I did a nice sucker punch on Jake. And something I really regret. Jake's a lot stronger than you'd think. He's a strong man. So, yeah, he punched me. I was expecting the old right hook, you know. You always think someone's right. No, Jake's a lefty. Yeah, so he punched me pretty much straight in the face, knocked me out, seeing stars for a while. It was a good time. Yeah, I was sitting on the ground for a while. We were both very bloodied up. His shirt was ripped off. And yeah, we had some guy trying to call the cops. He was like, you guys need to leave or the cops are going to be here. So we both washed up in the bathroom together. And yeah, we literally become better friends ever since then. So I love hanging out with that man. Loved it. We do a lot of dumb stuff, and it was awesome. Jake was one of the kindest people I've ever met, and I'm gonna miss all the shenanigans with that kid. I love and miss all those times with my friends in the Vail Valley. We took advantage of everything this valley had to offer, and it meant so much to me. It's changed my life in such a huge way. And I would have never picked a better group of kids to grow up with. I love you, Jake. I know you're watching over all of us, and rest in peace, brother.
My name's Soren Esrode, for any of y'all who don't know me. Been a good buddy of Jake since I started growing up, moved to Colorado. And first, I just want to start out with the amount and quality of people in this room is a testament to the kind of guy Jake he was and forever will be. I'd like to start off with a reading of a quote I was shown that Jake put in his middle school yearbook. It's "Everything has beauty, but not everyone sees it" by Confucius. And I strongly know that Jake was a perfect example of what this quote is preaching. Jake was always the one who found beauty in everything he did. He was a kid who showed his friends the beauty we were all surrounded by. And I remember every time I saw Jake, his infectious smile was always glaring no matter what the circumstances were. He found joy in every aspect and adventure he was a part of. I didn't really know what to write for this speech, but I was driving home or here from Montana last night at 1 a.m. and listening to some of Jake's favorite music of Wu-Tang and Gucci Mane and whatever else he did. And just hit me of something that I didn't want to tell a story of Jake, but I want to tell a story of what kind of kid he was. And I remember I brought a kid from New Jersey back here for our senior project after I left Battle Mountain, and my buddy got to meet Jake, and we spent every day together when I was home. And I talked to my buddy about 2-3 weeks ago, and he always asked how Jake was. It was the one kid Jake remembered, and I truly believe Jake had an impact on everybody's life here, and for always will for the rest of our lives. And sorry, this is tough. But yeah, long story short, I just think Jake was one of the best kids I knew, who always knew how to throw a smile on anybody's face no matter what the circumstances were. You know, we'd have a bad day or a shitty day, and Jake was always smiling, trying to make one of us laugh and have a good time together. And all I could think about when I was writing was how Jake affected all of us, and just gave us a good life and always knew how to put a smile on our face. And driving here today, I thought I was going to have a nice 5-hour drive, and I thought about how Jake was voted the most likely to be late to graduation. And as we're sitting in the middle of the road in Wyoming and bum of nowhere, all I could think about was Jake just playing one last trick on all of us, making us late to his service. And I know at the end of the day, the 4 of us that were driving home, it brought a smile to all of us, knowing Jake was, looking upon us, laughing on all of us. And I'm really going to miss him. I'm not a religious man myself, but I know Jake served his purpose on this earth, and God does take his angels early that he needs back. And I can truly say Jake filled his spot on this earth and taught us all something we can all take with us through the rest of our lives. And Jake is now a new angel above us all, watching over us, protecting us, and smiling with that big old grin and chubby cheeks of his. But I love Jake, forever will, and may he rest in peace. Thank you.
Thanks, guys, and I'm so happy you arrived safely tonight. Next up, we have Carly Cummins from the Children's Global Alliance.
My name is Ava. I was a friend, co-worker, and volunteer alongside Jake. I don't think I can capture my friendship with him other than by starting at the beginning and finishing at the end. So I'll do my best. I first really met Jake because we were accepted onto a CGA trip to Tanzania together. My immediate first impression of him was that of Big Bird, or a gargantuan teddy bear, an association that withheld the entirety of our relationship. After only 15 hours of flying and some games of spoons using tampons on the floor of the Ethiopian airport, I felt I already know who Jake was. He didn't make any effort to suppress or obscure his genuine nature. I thought he seemed like the type of person who only smiles. It turns out I was right, and doesn't get mad. I honestly envied Jake. There was something apparent about the fullness of his heart and soul that felt impossible for anyone else, especially our age, to achieve. On our first day in the hostel, Jake and I explored the backyard for snacks. Using his incredible wingspan, looking very Big Bird-esque, Jake plucked the ripe mulberries from an enormous bush while I made myself useful collecting fallen avocados. We ate our harvest on the way into town, the berries dully sweet and the avocados super watery, to explore and run errands. On our way back from a grocery run with Lisa Marie, my hand brushed against Jake's and I immediately grasped the notion of a crush. The rest of the trip was taking turns rubbing the knots out of each other's backs on long van rides and volunteering with kids, something that made me realize he'd make an excellent father. We went on a safari where I got to know Jake's sassy side for the first time. After looking at some thousands of water buffalo, thinking they look faintly familiar, Ansley and I finally placed their resemblance to Jake and gave him the name Buckaboo. When we informed Jake of his spirit animal and resultant nickname, he responded in his quintessential easygoing way, candidly shrugging with a smile and saying, "I don't think I like that." His contact is still Buckaboo in my phone. Once we got home and began going to school together, my infatuation quickly solidified into platonic adoration. Jake and I took bathroom breaks at the same time so we could walk around the school and talk. In the hallways, we confessed depression to one another, reminisced about our time in Africa, and made grand schemes to start a chess club at school, something we thought would be funny yet impressive. And it was. Jake actually started a chess club of which I was an honorary member. I used to stay after school when the club would start, even when I was dying to go home, just because I wanted to hang out with Jake. I was bad at chess and he won every single time. I also worked at the Smiling Moose with him and Colin for about a year or so. To take the trash out, we would pile together in the truck and drive 300 feet over to the dumpster. When it was slow, we would whip each other with washcloths and hang out in the basement doing things we weren't supposed to. I'm sorry, Craig. Jake would get reprimanded for giving away free mac and cheese brimming with bacon to friends. I didn't consider changing jobs until he quit, and even then, I worked at Main Street where both of his siblings worked. Many of my insecurities and faults as a high schooler were overwritten just by being Jake's friend. When I first began driving, I still had a lot of anxiety about going on the highway or taking other people with me. Despite my fears and the law, I picked up Jake and some others maybe a day after I got my permit to do something, anything that we weren't supposed to do. We landed on just watching a movie at his house. I was already sweating hard for fear of my mother finding out when Jake, faithfully in the passenger seat, turned the car's volume on full blast and began screaming into my ear and dancing hard enough to shake the car as we drove up Singletree. I thought I would die of panic as Jake grabbed my shoulders and, shaking me vigorously, belted the lyrics to a heavy metal song I still don't know. When I went to college, Jake and I stayed in touch via ugly selfies. Seeing a Snapchat from Buckaboo pop up was always the highlight of my day. Over winter breaks, I would ski either with my best friend Mary Emma or Jake, the only two people I didn't feel embarrassed to ski around, as if I should be embarrassed at all. The three of us began hanging out, and I separately encouraged them to pursue each other. It was the start of a beautiful golden age in my friendship with Jake. Coming home now meant coming back to my best friend and human-sized teddy bear together. Life was filled with casual dance parties and ski days fueled by Smiling Moose sandwiches. When my mom told me we were selling the house and moving to Eagle, my first and best thought was about how much closer to Jake I would be. One of the last times I saw Jake was on a day we met up to ski in Vail this past winter. I'd already taken a few runs before meeting up with him at the lifts. I always took a run or two before finally running into Jake, as our communication skills always seemed to worsen once we were meeting up to ski. I'm not sure how many times I've been sitting on the lift, my bare fingers freezing, straining to hear Jake on the Snapchat audio call he just made instead of a phone call for some reason. I never knew if Jake would be on skis or a board with 10 other people or just himself, but I soon saw his enormous frame lumbering towards me on 2 skis with Colin. In the line, we got scolded for chatting excitedly with our masks down. I think we took 1 run, possibly 2, before sitting down for a beer at the top. We had 1 beer with us and a tiny bit of Fireball left, so being 22, I got in line to order some more. There was 1 person to take all of the orders and make all of the food for a rowdy group of 20-somes that took about an hour to order. I kept my sanity only because Jake, sitting with Colin at the table, was consistently waving, giving me the thumbs up and yelling reassurances. I spent an hour in line only to be told I can order 1 beer at a time. When I finally came back, I had nothing to show for it but a singular, particularly bad can of beer and a bag of jalapeno chips. The 3 of us shared the beer and sacrificed most of the chips to the fat little birds that lived off human scraps. As a biologist, I had the urge to lecture about ecology and why it's bad to feed animals, so maybe jalapeno chips weren't a great idea. But Jake was so excited, downright elated, to be feeding the birds. He would see one and wait patiently, making intent eye contact, bare fingers presenting a jalapeno chip in the snowstorm, and then smile and giggle wildly as they swept down and accepted his gifts. His genuine joy, like always, was infectious, so I chose to help ruin some ecology for once. After probably 2 hours or more of sitting and freezing on top of the mountain, we split ways. Ultimately, I look back and can't feel any self-resentment for not taking more runs. Instead, I'm filled with an overwhelming gratitude. I'm grateful for the 1 guy taking all the orders and the 20 people placing them, and for the terrible beer that was warm even though it was snowing, for the huge flakes that kept watering down the beer, giving us more to share, and I'm grateful for the tourists that ruined the birds' ecology by feeding them before us, to the birds for being so tame and making Jake laugh. I'm so grateful for Jake and his unabashed gregariousness and thrill for life. I'm grateful to have ever known such a pure human being as Jake. He's made me realize I don't need to be anxious or embarrassed, angry or resentful. He's helped me lead a life where I forgive other people and laugh off the pain, create for myself an existence perpetuated by huge smiles, deep-throated laughter, hilarious mistakes and horrible errors, genuine connections, and an overwhelming appreciation for life. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carly. I was lucky enough to travel to Cambodia, Tanzania, and Nepal with Jake, as were many of you here today. Wish we were seeing each other on different circumstances. When Lisa Marie and I were reminiscing on our many memories of Jake, one of the things we adored most about him across the board was the way that Jake loved children and children loved Jake. We loved watching him effortlessly be able to connect with other cultures. He always just got it. He was one of the most positive, cheerful, and loving humans we had ever met. We were so honored to travel the world with him and witness him share his heart so freely with those who struggled the most. Jake Banana, as the kids in Cambodia called him, could melt away any negativity or any trouble with a smile. While reading Jake's old blogs to write this speech, I realized that the greatest way to express how truly special Jake was to use his own words. July 2013. Soon the time came when we were boarding the plane to Korea. On the plane, they served food. I was starving and had never eaten on a plane before, so I was hoping for like a big turkey sub or something like that. But instead, I got a green tea flavored rice chowder that tasted like seaweed, so I didn't eat too much that plane ride. 2013. Today I realized that even in the worst situations, happiness is possible, and the children's smiles are proof. I have been taught some valuable lessons. One thing they taught me is to love everyone, especially your family. My family has given me so much love. I don't feel I've given them as much love as they deserve. They also taught me to be thankful for what I have. For many people don't live with the things we do. With my trip coming to an end, I feel this has really changed my view on how to treat people and be grateful for what I have. Cambodia 2013. This was very emotional for everyone as we were in tears with our kids in our arms telling them our goodbyes. I left that day with only great memories and lessons that I learned from the kids. That day I learned I need to love everyone as I may never see them again in my life. I also learned that I need to give everyone a chance. I need to try to get to know everyone and not only talk to my friends or the people I like. I know I have done a lot in the past few years. I never try to learn about the shy kids in my school or the kids that don't have many friends. I feel everyone deserves a chance and everyone should learn about people you don't know and allow them to be your friend. The kids also taught me to live in the moment and don't hold anything back. 2014. If I could be an animal, I believe I would be a bison. Bison are an animal that have big meaning to the Native Americans. The Native Americans hunted a lot of bison but respected them for their qualities. The bison to the Native Americans represent provision, abundance, strength, stability, and prosperity. I feel I can relate to these qualities given to the bison, but in different ways. Provision is how I give my skills to the work that I commit to. I have an abundance of personality that I use in everything I do. I have mental strength and stability, but I don't get hurt emotionally very easily by the things people say. Prosperity is what I feel if I apply all of my good qualities and work towards my full potential. There's one other quality I find in a bison and I find in myself. I find the bison has the quality to stick up for their family and friends. For example, the bison will protect the members of its herd if they're getting hunted by a predator. I believe I have that quality of valuing friendship and family. I've never felt so much love and heartbreak in 2 days. Yesterday was our first day at Lawamo School, and I was assigned to the baby class. I had the best 2 days of my life. I regret every second I did not have a baby in my arms. Every time a baby smiled, my heart stopped and it took my breath away. Their enthusiasm towards their learning and everything they do is amazing. When I would teach them numbers, they would shout it back at me. When you picked them up, every kid would storm around you and want to be lifted in the air. There was a little girl named Valentina, and I have never seen a cuter child in my life. Her smile made me fall in love, and her personality was so gentle and kind no one could dislike her. There was also a boy named Bright who had the biggest heart I've ever seen, and it lit up a room. His eyes were wide and enthusiastic, and his energy was boundless. I wish I could have spent a lifetime with those kids, but I was only allowed 2 days, and I believe I made the most of it. I spent the majority of my day in the nursery with Scott and Lisa Marie. The little babies were adorable. Even at a young age, the look in their eyes made me fall head over heels. I feel like I've been saying that I love these kids a lot, but that's because I do. Somehow every time I look into a kid's eyes or see their smile, my heart stops. I was holding 2 babies in my lap, and they would observe every detail on my face or my hand. They sat there with the widest eyes, looking at every crack in my hand or pore on my face. With every kid I met, the bigger my heart gets, filled with the smiles of these kids. Every day I wake up excited to fall in love again. My mission behind everything I do is to spread happiness and love. I tend to find myself feeling very happy, and I always find something positive out of each moment. I would be truly happy if I influence people and ignite happiness and the drive to make others happy and feel love like I do. 2016. My time at Leisha Secondary School has been one of the greatest times of my life. At this school, I had the privilege to teach some of the brightest, most determined, and passionate children I've ever met in my life. Their attitudes provided me with the chance to grow as both a teacher and a person. From them, I was able to develop more confidence, patience, and the ability to keep my head up when things go wrong. I know that every one of those kids has the potential to do something great, and I know they will live up to it. It is one of the most difficult things to say goodbye to someone you know you will never see again. I feel so lucky for the time I got to spend with Jake. And I don't think anyone has ever been able to piss me off so much and yet get me over it so quickly. And I know that I'm not the only person that felt that way. And I mean, just reading those blogs and seeing all of you here today shows that I think he completed his mission in life. Like Sawyer said, he served his purpose and he shared happiness and love with all of us. And now we have to go spread it with others. Thanks.
Ava and Carly, thank you so much. Our next speaker is Coach Shoup, who was Jake's Battle Mountain High School football coach.
Okay. Public speaking is probably not my thing, unless we're talking about a down block or an offensive concept in the double wing. But I just want to say that I'm truly honored to have this time. My first interaction with Jake was telling about why we were connected and how we were connected. He immediately, right after a basketball game, he got taken out by Coach Stranju. And he threw a temper tantrum and sat on the bench and pouted a little bit. And I immediately knew that we shared difficulty with authority. And so I went and talked to him, and I asked if that was going to be a problem. And he looked me dead in the eye, and he said, "No, sir." And it never was. 6 months later, I finally saw him come to football on day 1 of practice, and I wondered, was I actually going to get this kid, this great athlete, this great kid I've heard so much about? And when he showed up, he immediately brought us together. He was tough right off the bat. He was smart as a whip. He was selfless, fearless, and he acted with love with every action, and you could feel that as a player, as a coach, as anybody in the program at that time. And it really made that team. That was a turnaround team for me. It was my first year And I'm so thankful for what he brought to that team. My last interaction with Jake was actually at a basketball game, and I saw him come across to get a drink of water from the fountain, and I immediately popped up and I ran over and I gave him a hug, and he smelled like cig smoke. And if you know me, I don't like cigarettes, I don't like smoking, and so I kind of pushed him away and I said, "Are you smoking cigs?" And the smart ass that he was, he goes, "Not right now." And I said, "No shit, not right now. We're in the gym. You can see that." And I gave him a hug anyway. I told him I loved him, which I had many times. To Carol and Todd, I have felt child loss, and I am so sorry. Jake was on the team when I lost my son Otis, and he helped me get through that. And I promise I will do anything to help you get through that. I love Jake. He'll always be my dog. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Next up, we have our CU Boulder group.
I guess I just want to tell a story about Jake. Like the last time I saw him, it was over the summer, and I got a call one night. I saw it was Jake, and I was like, "Well, how are we losing money tonight?" And he calls me. He's like, "Dude, Nuggets game tomorrow." I was like, "Well, I'd love to go, but I'm in Vail. Tickets are like $500. How are we gonna get there?" And he's like, "We'll figure it out, man. Let's just look for tickets and we'll go from there." I was like, "Sounds like a plan." And so he finds these tickets, and they're about 10 seats away from the court, behind the Nuggets, like literally what we wanted. But they were like $150. We were like, "Jake, are you sure these tickets are good?" He was like, "Dude, trust me. Like these tickets are so legit, we will get there." And so we get down to Denver, and we're in line, and we're talking to another guy that like was going to the game, and we were like, "Well, where are you sitting?" He was like, "Oh, I'm in the nosebleeds, like not very good seats." And we're like, "How much did you pay?" He was like, "Oh, just $300. And we were like, "Oh no." Oh no. Did we just get scammed? Like, so we're all petrified. Like me, Dave, right there, and Jake were just like, "Guys, like, are we gonna get into this game?" We were all holding our breaths, just praying, like, please let these tickets work, because they shouldn't have. But I think it's because Jake bought them and Jake willed it. They did, and we got into that game, and the Nuggets got absolutely blown out. It was just disgusting. They played horribly, but the entire time Jake was whooping and hollering and just so happy to be there and just like chirping other players. Just like we were probably down 20 with like 3 minutes left. And he's like, "Come on, Nugs, let's go. We still got this. Like, there's no way we can lose." And like we went back to Boulder and did our normal shenanigans, and that was that. But his attitude at that game really carried with the rest of him and the rest of his life. He was always so happy and energetic and just always looking for the positive. And, that's something that I definitely struggle with personally, and I'm sure I'm not the only one here. But I think that's something that we should all try to put into our lives just a little bit, just in his memory, if nothing else. I think that's all I got to say. I'm not sure who's speaking next, but thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Ben Campbell. I went to CU with Jake. The Jake I knew was the most encouraging and amazing person that I have ever met in my life. So I have a little story. Last summer we went out trying to cliff dive and took Gitchel's raft down the river and stopped in the hot springs for a little bit. It was just an incredible time. Jake doing his little cackle, just always with his laugh, just always having the greatest time. But I was actually, I never thought that I was afraid of heights. I've always wanted to skydive, and I think that's just something that I've told myself because I've never really been up high before this. But yeah, I couldn't do it. I told him I couldn't do it. And he would be the one to jump off the chimney just climb 90 degrees up and just jump from 30 feet high, whatever it is. So I really wanted to be like him. He was just the daredevil in the greatest way ever. He was, like I said, he's the most encouraging person I've ever met. So I really didn't want to do it, but we rafted down the way and saw this last jump, and he was just like, come with me, and he just dove out, and it took me a few seconds, but I followed him, and I don't know if it was the steepness or the fear, but it took me about 5 minutes to get all the way up there. Climb all the way up, but he was there with me every step of the way, just like in everything else in my life. And we did it, and I'm so glad we did. I just wish it wasn't the last time. He was my best friend, and I loved him like a brother, and I love you so much, Jake. I hope I see you soon.
For a man that loved to party, he had a toast to go with it. So, for everyone who knew him from college, they heard this toast many times. So I'll say it once, and then we can all say it together. There are good ships, and there are wood ships. Ships that sail the sea, but the best ships are friendships. May they always be. So if you want to say it with all of us, we'll say it again. You guys ready? A little bit. There are good ships, and there are wood ships. Ships that sail the sea, but the best ships are friendships. May they always be. That was Jake's thing. Anytime we were always out together, he'd get us together, and that toast would kick it off. It would keep us going throughout the night. It was.
We can have a little toast to that in the pavilion in a little bit. Last but certainly not least, the other half that knew Jake, his beautiful father, loving father, Todd.
To echo what Carol said, thanks so much to everyone who has helped and everyone that's here. How would I describe Jake to someone that didn't know him? We've had a memento in our house for the last 6 or 7 years that we see every time we go up the stairs. It's from his 4th grade class. One word they would use to describe Jake from each of the students. Funny, cool, creative, dare to try, skilled at football, humorous, good at basketball, amazing soccer goalie, awesome, spectacular. They were all right. And the award he received in 5th grade was for sense of humor. We had to share the news of Jake's passing to the world. We chose the words carefully. They were kindness, generosity, adventurous spirit, beautiful soul. These all fit. But if I were to try to break it down to one word, it would be authentic, genuine. He was true to himself. He marched to the beat of his own drum. As a little kid, he would refuse to wear jeans. Instead, it was khaki little zipper pants and party shirts. He remained this way through his life, and I'm wearing one of his party shirts tonight. I'm wearing his Bob Ross Happy Cloud socks. I'm wearing his hoodie right now. As a kid, he made up his own language. Gum was his word for horse. We don't know where this came from. Qua was water. He had another family. They lived in the big house that you see on the hill on the north side of I-70 as you drive towards Walcott, the one that's up there. He wanted us to call him different names. He was Eric for a little bit. Then he was Luke. He wasn't just authentic, he was passionate and found excitement in just about everything as a kid. If you asked Jake to try something, he would. The answer was yes. I try to think of my single best memory of him as a kid, and 2 stand out. About 15 years ago, a great day was when he and I went to Disneyland. Carol, Zach, and Justine wanted to go to the beach, and he and I went to Disney World. We got there. We were in line. We were there when it opened, and we left when it closed. He rode his first roller coaster over and over. He amazed me. He seemed excited every single minute of the day. Outside of major life events, I still look back on this as the best day I've had in my life with him. I'm sorry. The other was a road trip. Just the two of us took to Mount Rushmore. We went for about 4 or 5 days. We went to Devil's Tower one day, and we received a phone call on the way that my sister suffered a major health event, and we weren't sure if she was going to make it. It was the first time he saw me cry, I think. I told him we were going to pray really hard for her. He was maybe 9. We started praying. I had tears going down my cheek, and I looked over at him, and he was praying as hard as he could possibly pray. He just was gritting his teeth, and he was down, and it was the most amazing thing. And I think she made it through really because of his intense praying. Also, there's a song, if you guys know, there's a song called "Watching You" by Rodney Atkins. That he used to say was our song, and if you're familiar with the words, as the years passed, it's really hard for me to listen to that song, and I can't imagine hearing it anytime soon. I want to say a few things about our family. First off, Carol said how big Jake was as a baby. He was enormous. She said almost 11 pounds. He was 10 pounds, 8 ounces. He was a little over 21 inches. I really still haven't heard of another baby bigger. Jake has a great brother and sister who are so proud of who he was and how he lived his life. And he absolutely loved them. Zach and Justine, your mom and I are so proud of you. Both. You know, all you want to do as a dad is to be a great father in every way. I think and hope that Jake saw me that way. I know I loved him with all my heart. You know, I don't have to think or hope when it comes to Carol. I absolutely know she was a great mother to all her kids. She gives so much of herself consistently to all her kids all the time. And when it came to Jake, he was our baby. Her love for him was bottomless. Their love for each other was truly special. Wow, that was easier than I thought it would be. Jake called me on my birthday last Monday, and we had a great talk. Then he called me twice the next morning while I was in back-to-back Zoom meetings, and I texted him. I didn't know if it was an emergency, and he just texted me back with the word "dude." I texted him back, and we started talking. I'm like, what's going on? He said, I just wanted to shoot the shit, And so after my meeting, I went for a drive with him. We talked for 31 minutes. This is last Tuesday. He was so excited because he realized he only needed 21 credits to graduate. He thought it was in the low 30s. He thought it was so much more. We talked about the classes he wanted to take specifically for his career. It was awesome. I was so excited for him. I was driving past a large house. I sent him I took a picture while we're talking. Hey, I'm sending this picture over. This could be you one day. And it was just amazing. He was excited that Otis was learning and so responsive to his training. The excitement and passion that he always had was in his voice, and I was so excited for him. He passed away the next morning. Our family has a giant hole. So now what? Where do we go from here? Well, we started on Sunday. After the viewing, we ate pizza with his roommates and friends at his place in Boulder. There were maybe 15 kids there with us. We ate pizza, told Jake stories. You guys don't know how much that meant to us, that means to us. How happy he was and how much he meant to you and how much you meant to him. We saw Jake last Sunday for a couple hours. I'm going off script here, sorry. We brought a Jokic jersey, put it on him. We left him 15 pictures. We told stories. It was a meaningful moment for all of us. We all wrote letters to Jake and left them with him on Sunday. I'd like to share part of what I wrote, which addresses part of my thoughts on healing. Dear Jake, my beautiful son, I love you so much. Words can't express how loved you were by all of us. I commit to you I will be at peace with this eventually and look forward to joining you in heaven. Heaven received an angel that will add so much passion and character. You lived your life the way life should be lived. I promise you that you will always be part of me, and I will be strong supporting everyone. I commit to you that I will honor your memory and make you as proud of me as I am of you. Your dad loves you so very much.
A recurring theme tonight was that Jake would light up a room just by walking in it. To honor Jake's life, please begin lighting your candles. By sharing your flame with those around you, feel the connection to Jake and to each other, please. Make a silent promise to be a better version of you. Like Jake, live authentically. Don't be too serious. Try new things. Dress a little louder. March to the beat of your own drum. Use your sweet smile to lift others. Maybe be tardy every once in a while. Be open-minded. Open your heart to others. Know no boundaries. Treat each other with equality, respect, and kindness. Live simple, but live large. Be the light.
You sheltered me from harm, kept me warm, kept me warm. You gave my life to me, set me free, set me free. The finest years I ever knew, I had with you, and I would give anything I own, give up my life, my heart, my home. I would give everything I own just to have you back again. You taught me how to lie, what it's up, what it's up. You never said too much, but still you showed the way, and I knew from watching you. Nobody else could ever know part of me that can't let go, and I would give anything I own, give up my life, my heart, my home. I would give Is there someone you know, you're loving them so, but taking them all for granted? You may lose them one day, someone takes them away, and they don't hear the words you long to say. I would give anything I own, give up my life, my heart, my home. I would give everything I own just to have you back again, just to touch you once again.
There you go, Jake.
Hey, Jake, this one is the most assertive in the group. It's a little girl, it's a woman.
John? Oh, Mother, you look lovely. Why, thank you. What are you doing in my old hat? We're doing an act. We're playing a being, you and Father. I'm Father. A little less noise there. A little less noise. Mother! What is it, Michael?
You're better than the best. I'm lucky just to linger in your light. Cooler than the flip side of my pillow. That's right. Completely unaware. Nothing can compare to where you send me. Lets me know that it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. In the moments when my good times start to fade, you make me smile like the sun, fall out of bed, sing like a bird, dizzy in my head, spin like a record, crazy on a Sunday night. You make me dance like a fool, forget how to breathe, shine like gold, buzz like a bee. Just the thought of you can drive me wild. Oh, you make me smile.
His mother Carol and his father Todd. This is his second year playing for Battle Mountain High School football. Favorite football memory is the feeling after a game, whether they win or lose. His future plans is to live his life to the fullest, and he would like to thank his wonderful parents, his dearest teammates, and his fantastic coaches. Congratulations, Mr. Bukovich.
You belong among the wildflowers. You belong in a boat out at sea. Sail away, kill off the hours. You belong somewhere you feel free. Run away, find you a lover. Go away, somewhere all bright and new. I have seen no other who compares with you. You belong among the wildflowers. You belong in a boat out at sea. You belong with your love on your arm. You belong somewhere you feel free. let your heart be your guide. You deserve the deepest of cover. You belong in that home by and by. You belong among the wildflowers. You belong somewhere close to me, far away from your trouble and worry. You belong somewhere you feel free. You belong somewhere you feel free.
Standing up. Where's the paddle?
Look at those moves.
You got
Netherlands and Germany.
Oh my God. Baby, I